What up? What up? It's your man Sean P coming in live. This is the Sean P Experience on YouTube. I got another hot guest lined up for y'all, man. Gonna be a banger of a show. I'm very excited about it. I love getting in with the brother. He got a lot to bring to the table, man. Before I get started, for those that don't know, it's my brother, Cool Colas, man. Educator, author, activist. He's a scholar. He's a cultural critic, a film critic, I would say, and many other things, man. So welcome to the Sean P Experience, my brother. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate the warm welcome.
Oh man, come on, bro. You always welcome to this platform, bro. Don't let it be the last time. I had you
Yeah.
on the Instagram page last year. We had a phenomenal show on the Instagram side, and now I'm bringing you on my YouTube platform. Hopefully, I'll be a guest on your platform, maybe. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. That's what's next up. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have you
Okay,
on.
okay. So this show is titled "Sitting with the Griots." That's the name of my show. The griots, the ancient storytellers, and the keepers of the tales, and they did it through various means: song, music, instrumentation, writing, of course, oral traditions, all kind of ways that they did that. How do you feel about being titled a modern day griot? You are an author. You are
Hmm.
a critic, a diplomat. How do you
Hmm.
feel about that moniker? And do you feel like it's a lot of pressure to win something like that? Is there a lot of weight to it, or do you not think
Hmm.
about it? How do you feel about it?
That's a great question because, like, I've never titled myself as such, but I could see how I could relate to that definition. But to answer your question, I would say that it's something that I find to be an honor. I mean, when I think about it, it has a lot of history behind it. Let's kind of like go back a little bit. See, I've been a writer since probably about the ninth grade, but I've been a storyteller since I was a little boy. So when I think about writing and authors and people who create things, they're really storytellers who are either telling you something from their own creativity or they're looking at different facts and things that actually really exist, that tangibly exist, and they're putting them into words where it makes sense and they're teaching somebody something or showing somebody something. From my perspective, I would say that it's an honor because I think it takes a certain talent to be able to take the things that you ingest or the things that you create from your own mind and then make something that is essentially not real into something that actually becomes real to a certain extent.
Man, I love the way you broke that down. Might be
Yeah.
one of the best answers I've heard in a long time to that question. I love asking my guests that question, and
Hmm.
I've gotten varied answers. Of course, there's no wrong answer, but I love the one you just gave. Phenomenal answer, my brother. Let's
I
go that
appreciate
to let's flip it to the Black History Month, right? So we're in February. We're in
it.
the
Yep.
middle. We got a few days left of Black History
Yep.
Month. You had an interesting take on your page on Black History Month and Black people. So
Mhm.
give my audience some of your take on Black people and Black History Month, if you can.
Most definitely. So when it comes to Black History Month, I think that there's two ways to look at it. They kind of intertwine to a certain extent, but there's two ways to look at it. A lot of people see this as a time to celebrate and as a time to really be nostalgic. And I've always said myself that when it comes to empowerment, empowering Black people, it should never be nostalgic. It should always be continuous. So let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of Black History Month is honoring a lot of Black people who have done great things in society. Specifically, when we talk about Black people, we're talking about foundational Black Americans. That doesn't mean that Black people all over the diaspora are not welcome to be celebrated, but for the most part, it's a tradition in America for foundational Black Americans. Regardless, the point that I'm trying to make is that I think a lot of people just who are Black, try to celebrate the people who used to be around, when in reality, there are tangible things that we actually can do today. And I think that that includes being able to take this holiday and not only just create things, but sell things. So we should be able to profit off of a holiday that's supposed to be meant for us. Now, I'm obviously calling an entire month a holiday. So let me kind of put it into better context. Anything that Black people are given is more of a token gesture. Right. So I'm kind of grouping it in that same category as Martin Luther King Day. Same thing as what was it, Juneteenth. Same thing as like Kwanzaa, if that's something that you celebrate. Those are all things that Black people really, either it was given to them or there may be like fragments of something that are related to us. But regardless, we have to have some form of culture. So I understand why some people would like to celebrate it. But I think that people need to look at the other side of it. This is part two here. The other side of it is Black History Month is one of those things where it's a trick bag. I mean, it's on the shortest like month of the year, right? Nobody is really getting anything tangible who is Black. So you're not, so even if you're working, which let's be real, a lot of foundational Black Americans are working, you know, you're not getting a day off of work. There's not really anything that's celebrated outside of symbolism itself. So the way I see it is the only way that we can actually profit from it is to be creative and maybe make things that are Black History Month themed. But beyond that, it's nothing but a bunch of symbolic nothing burgers, to be totally honest with you.
Okay. And you know, whenever you actually read Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month,
Mm-hmm.
I've been hopping on this for a while, not just with him, but just our icons, period.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people literally read their work.
Yep.
Like, what was his intent when he made this thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for him, for Black History Month, I did a whole live by this like 3 or 4 years ago with an actual Black history scholar. His
Mm-hmm.
intent was for Black History Month, we were going to review the previous year, everything that we've done globally.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So in
Yep.
2024, Black History Month, we're reviewing 2023. What did we do globally around the world as Black
Mm-hmm.
people? And like
Yep.
you said, that ball got dropped a long time ago. We're not
Oh yeah.
covering anything of what we're doing and what's happening or whatever. That ball been
Mm-hmm.
dropped. We are so far from the man's original intent. It's not even funny. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. You mind if I cut in on that point that you made too?
Man, go ahead.
Cool. So I can tell you why I think it happened. I think that happened because what happened is Black empowerment became the Black excellence trope. Here's the problem with Black excellence. It is nostalgic and it is symbolic, at least in modern society. Now, I'm going to be doing a speech at the end of this month where I'm talking about the difference between true Black excellence versus the Black excellence that we see today, which is more of like faux Black excellence. The problem is that a lot of people are not really trying to empower Black people. They're trying to find their personal comfort in a system of white supremacy. And see, true Black empowerment means being willing to dismantle and do things that are going to empower yourself in a system of white supremacy so that it can be destroyed, not so that you find your personal comfort. So a lot of that is celebrating Black faces in high places and Black people who have just existed just to exist, to say, I'm the first Black fill in the blank. So I just think that a lot of it has turned into a lot of symbolic nothing burgers, like I said earlier. But I think the biggest problem with that and the reason why is people aren't looking at this at the highest level, the big picture. The big picture is that in a system of integration, that's all people are trying to strive to do, Black people specifically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got you. I got you, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, for the
Mm-hmm.
past, I want to say 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
because Black History Month kind of the main time a person like me get the phone call from the school, right? Like, man, you know, come talk to the kids and come do whatever. The whole
Yep.
year is the main time the phone ring. So what I try
Mm-hmm.
to do is, I don't want to give you the same old tried and true Black History Month, Rosa Parks, MLK. I don't want to do that. I started
Yep.
focusing on a certain theme every year. So one time I
Mm-hmm.
had Blacks in Science, and I showed you
Mm-hmm.
a chronology of what Black people did in science from ancient times through the
Mm-hmm.
slave trade up to current.
Right.
What did Black people do in this field, right? Then I did
Mm-hmm.
Blacks in the field of law, everything we
Mm-hmm.
did in the world of law. And so this
Yep.
year I'm doing Blacks in medicine, right? So I do a different theme, and I'm going to these schools and churches and other places showing our presence in all these different fields that we never thought about before.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's the empowerment piece that I'm trying to deliver, letting these kids and adults see what we did in these different worlds. We don't just exist inside this world. We
Mm-hmm.
created like these worlds.
Yeah.
And let's tap back into it is always my point when I'm doing these presentations.
Right. I love that. I love that that's something that you do. And to even further expound upon what you had said, I think that's something that's important too. And I'm pretty sure you're doing this to some extent, it sounds like, is to tell kids, hey, look, when it comes to leadership, that's part of being a leader, finding your craft and honing the thing that is that you are special at, the thing that you can do just like all these other people who have been great. So when we look at all these people who have been figures in history, we can look at them as inspirations for, and maybe idols for things that we want to do ourselves, because the whole goal isn't to just take one person, rally behind that person and say we call that person our leader. It's for you specifically to be a leader in the area that you are an expert in and that you are passionate about.
Yeah, totally, totally. So that's only one example of how
Mm-hmm.
you come to the table with your own perspective that's unique, that I love, and why you're here. So I want to go into like your page and your platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
did you choose the unique angle you have on these topics? And tell us the importance of how you break down film in movies and cultural moments. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
how you came across the perspective, like, you know what, I'm going to hone in and drill
Mm-hmm.
down on this. Tell us the
Yeah.
inception of that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I need to say this from the start. I need to really go all the way back and almost tell like the origin of Cool Colas himself. So I tell people this story all the time because it's what happened to me. I've been experiencing racism that I was able to visibly see and actualize since I was 11 years old. So that means that I've experienced racism on the job. I've experienced racism when I go to stores. I've experienced racism when I go to banks. I've experienced racism in pretty much every place that you can exist in. So on top of that too, I'm a black nerd, so I'm going to get it real bad. There a lot of white dominant society has this perception of the way that they see a black person should behave and is, and that's just not me. I'm a very unique individual. I've always been like that, and part of that is because I am a blurred, aka a black nerd, and so I say that because my interest has always been to look at nerdy content. So, in other words, to look at movies, TV shows, things like that. Those are things that I enjoy. Those are things that I've been doing and been delving into since I was young. Now, when I'm like older, I'm looking at some of these TV shows and I'm like, so this right here looks anti-black. This right here, I don't like. I don't like the way this black person was written. I don't like the way that this person was crafted into a story. I don't like this agenda, yada, yada, yada. So I'm thinking these different things and I'm like, I'll be damned. I go to the bank, I experience racism. I go to school, experience it. I go to work and experience it. I'll be damned if I experience it in entertainment when I'm in the comfort of my own home. So that's what ended up having me that's why I came up with this ideal that I needed to really dig deep into a space that I was so heavily involved in. And that is where I know that I can make a change because I'm passionate about this. And this is something that I enjoy looking at. Now, to answer your question about like how did I get into nitpicking, not nitpicking, but like analyzing different media images and things like that. The reason why I got into it was because originally when I was actually doing my brand, the Cool Colas brand, the whole idea was for me to talk about giving black men a voice because I didn't see a lot of black men doing like nerdy things like me and getting into that type of space. So I'm like, okay, let me write and look at some of the things that I'm talking about and then talk about how black men have been affected and why we're not doing certain things in this space. And I want to see more of us. And at some point, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, one of my followers, and he kind of didn't really feel like I was putting my full self into what I was doing. And to some extent, he was right. The orientation, the way that I think was framing it wasn't right, but I think that he had the right idea. And so when he said that, I'm like, yeah, I got pro-black values. So I started taking these pro-black values that I had and then mixing it with the entertainment that I was looking at. And I'm like, okay, I know I enjoy this show, but there's also something wrong with the way that they write the black characters in this. And what I found out was that it wasn't just happening in the comic space. It was happening in a lot of the movies and TV shows that we see. And see, here's the thing that people need to understand about blurred culture, my man. So at the end of the day, when it comes to like blurs and stuff like that, it's not just about looking at comics like Marvel and DC and stuff like that. It's also one of those things where you're also looking at your actualized black culture. So you're not just like into nerdy things. You actually understand what it means to be if you're a foundational black American, a foundational black America. You listen to R&B, you listen to rap music, you listen to jazz, that type of thing. So although you have these nerdy interests, you also are very much integrated and aware of black culture and you embrace it. So that's why I wanted to take those two worlds and put them together and talk about all things that are a part of me being a blur.
Now, I got a question for you. The
Yep.
age-old response. I want your rebuttal to this. The age-old response. Man, is this a movie? Man, is this a TV show? Man, it's just
Yeah.
music. Like,
Hmm.
what do you say? Because you have a real passion. You're you're strong about these values and these principles. And when a person
Hmm.
said, "Man, like, chill out, bro. Like, we just trying to watch a movie. We ain't trying to hear all of that." Like
Yeah.
what's your response to that? Like the importance of what you're doing.
I do get that a lot. You're absolutely right. I think that it all kind of ends up being this. It all leads to the same thing, but I'll give you the cliff notes of what I feel is happening there. Whenever somebody says, "Man, it's just a movie," man, I don't want to look into all that, man, I don't want to analyze all that. What that tells me is that they truly don't understand white supremacy, and as a result of not really understanding it, it seems like they're also not trying to. So what ends up happening is these people who don't understand white supremacy or understand maybe a small bit of it, like what they end up doing is they go to fear and they go to escapism. So that's one bad problem in the black and the blurred community specifically, is that escapism is very rampant. A lot of blurs don't want to address the white supremacy that's in the things that they actually enjoy. And they don't want to actually help create a fair and just society. Again, they want to find comfort in it, which is why they do escapism, because we're very imaginative. We can come up with these different ideas and these different things and these different concepts because of the things that we do enjoy. But then what we do is we hide in them. We watch those things and we try to escape from it. It's almost like you're basically knowing like you're knowing a fire is around you, but you're like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm sitting at your house is on fire. I'm sitting at my kitchen table, although everything else is on fire around you. It's kind of like that. I don't know if you ever seen that meme. It's like a dog, and it's like, and then the dog is coming in the house and he's sitting down and the house is on fire, and then he has a bag of groceries and he says, "This is fine." Like he's sitting at the table. It's almost kind of like that. Like you're trying to transcend white supremacy without like actually like like while pretending like it's not happening around you.
But I'm big in the psychology space, man. So everything you saying makes sense to me in my
Mm-hmm.
lens because, like you said earlier, if I experience racism at the bank and at my job and other parts of society, when I'm at my private house and I'm laid back on my little popcorn for a couple
Mm-hmm.
hours, I want to just escape from. I don't want to deal with that. Even
Yeah.
in the world of music, right? A lot of younger generation, what they say, man, we ain't trying to hear all them lyrics and words. Like I want to vibe. I want to
Mm-hmm.
vibe. You meaning I want to dumb out and to play the
Mm-hmm.
track. I don't think
Yeah.
about the lyrics and what he's saying and what it's implying and if it's disrespecting women and I don't care
Yeah.
about what it's saying. I just want to vibe out. I want to be able to just
Right.
block off my brain for about 5 minutes and just be in the track. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with these movies and these shows, man. They don't want to think about what's being shown on the screen. They don't care about that.
Right. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go.
So why have you ever heard of Neely Fuller Jr. before?
Yes. Come on, bro.
Okay,
Dr.
cool,
Francis
cool.
Cress Wilson's her mentor, her OG,
That's right. That's
her
right.
grandmaster. Yeah, I get it.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep. The reason why I actually brought him up is because he said something that has resonated with me and kind of to a certain extent changed my life. It really changed my life when he said this. One thing that he said that I apply to my own life now, especially when conflict is in front of me, is whenever there's conflict and you don't understand what's going on, ask questions. That's one of the things that has always stuck with me. It's one of the best piece of advice that I've ever read, ever been told, ever like heard. And let me tell you why it's one of the best pieces, because it gives you the answers as to why people are doing what they're doing. And so if it's in good faith, they'll answer it honestly. If it's not in good faith, you'll be able to tell, usually, if you read people well enough. So the reason why I say that is because if you ever were to ask these people, why don't they get into all that? Why don't you want to see all that? Why don't you want to look all that? Most of the time, the reason is always going to go back to escapism and not wanting to deal with something that's a problem. You don't run from problems, you address them. That's the thing.
And he also said something to the effect of, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else going to just be confusing to
Exactly.
you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. So
Yep.
let's go into some of these films right quick, right? Let's go into, it's going to be interesting. Let's go into your take on the TV series on Hulu, Black Cake, right? Black Cake. I enjoyed Black
Yeah.
Cake. I have not
Okay.
seen the Black Cake. Here we go. For those that haven't seen it, the
Mhm.
cover, right?
Yep.
I have not seen the Black Cake. I mean, I have not read the Black Cake book. It's based off a book for those that's out there, my readers, my nerds. There is the Black Cake book. But the
Yeah.
series is about 8 or 9 parts. It was fire. I enjoyed the casting. I enjoyed what I saw. But give us
Mhm.
your take on the Black Cake.
It's so funny. It might be a little different, but I have to like tell you what I think. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've only got into probably about 3 to 4 episodes, probably about 4 episodes at this point. I've gotten through and four. And originally, when I first saw it, and I actually made a post about it, I was talking about episode 1. So I think that people need to understand like something whenever they're looking at these different stories. The thing that they really need to understand is that a lot of times the white supremacist tells history when they create these stories. Whether and don't and a lot of people are like, well, the book said this, the book said that. A lot of times they change things from books to movies. And the reason why is because the white supremacist knows that they're going to have a larger reach if they create a movie or a television series or that type of thing than they would in a book. So it's easier to actually not put agendas and things like that in a and it's easier to put agendas in a movie or a TV show than it is to put it in a book, is what I was trying to say. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the Black Cake TV show, there's a lot of history that they tell. A lot of times the white supremacists, they either speak in, again, half truths or they speak in full truths about history. In this particular show, watching the first episode, they told a full-blown truth about history when it came to Black immigrants. You know, if you look at places like the Caribbeans, a lot of them are being basically run amok. Like, you know, people are basically trying to usurp them, and it's usually whites and it's Asians, specifically the Chinese. And it's interesting because old girl, the main character, her dad was actually Chinese. And if you really pay attention to the things that he was saying, see, they try to kind of skip over it. They try to make it seem like it's sensible or whatever. But if you really listen to him, he actually was telling the truth about what a lot of the Asians, when they come over to like the Caribbean, specifically Jamaica, are doing. They go over there, they try to act like they're the real Caribbeans, they colonize it, they take their resources, they do all these different things, and then they basically treat those Jamaicans like shit. That's like, we all know that, you know, to a certain extent, that these stories have been passed around to a certain extent. But what they really did was they told you history, but because a lot of people don't know history, they don't know that that's what they were doing. And so it was interesting too, because even the grandmother, which was like the Chinese dude, his mother, she was also like, you know, a bigot as well too, because she didn't even want him to be with a Jamaican woman, and she wanted him to be with a Chinese woman. So they were really telling you about the colonization of Asians in the Caribbeans. At the same time, this TV show was also doing, they were putting a lot of their agendas as well too. I saw a little bit of colorism, like a little bit. I saw some zaddyism, and we'll get into that in a minute. I saw some or zaddyism swirling is the same thing. I saw a lot of like LGBT things going on there too, especially making the black man the homophobe. There was a lot of that going on as well too. I saw a lot of patriarchy things. They lightly touched on racism, but a lot of times when they touched on racism, it was mixed with like the whole patriarchy thing, which is just a total sham. And then they also were trying to do this new trope that I've seen quite a bit lately, which is they tried to make a scenario where you have a man and a woman, they're either in a relationship or they're related, like actually relatives. And usually the black man is like super off code, or he seems like kind of a coward. And then the black woman is usually real pro-black. This is like maybe the third time watching this TV show that I've seen that. And I saw this specifically in that show with the son, his girlfriend or side chick. I don't know which one she was. But if you look at the little dialogue between the two of them, notice that she was real pro-black and he was kind of afraid to address white supremacy and all this other stuff. So I think that this show, they shows, they do this thing, and I call it the mascara agenda. And what they really do is they tell you, they put in a lot of like tropes, a lot of agendas, a lot of narratives that they want, society, specifically black people, when it's a black story being told, to believe. But then what they do is, in order to justify or at least make it seem like it's okay, they'll dress it up a little bit. They may make a beautiful story because the story was pretty decent, or it was at least interesting and captivating. They'll make the story good. They'll make the actors and actresses good at what they do. They'll make it entertaining. So they'll do all these different things, just like when you have mascara. Somebody, it could be a chick, and she could have a crater face. She got pimples all on that bad boy. You put on some mascara, guess what? You don't see it no more. That's what they do with movies and TV shows too.
And like you saying, man, this is why I'm always backwards, right? And I'm saying that because most times I ask a person, man, you have you seen the Black Cake series? They say, no, I want to read the book first. Man, have you seen the other Black Girl series? No, I want to read the book first. I like watching movies and series first, and then it sparked me to go and read the book because now I definitely want to read the Black Cake book to see what the variations are and what did they deviate from with the sister. It is a Black woman that wrote the book. So to see what they did with that. And you're right, when
Right.
it comes to being an author, I'm an author, you're an author. I love asking my author friends, if Hulu or Amazon Prime, whoever, they offered you a check to buy your work, how willing are you to give up your work? Because you got to realize you're giving up all rights.
Yeah.
They can alter it drastically. You can't say nothing about it. Whatever they do on that screen is totally, you just like your
Yeah.
hands up. So not many
Yep.
folks are willing to give up all of their rights like that, no matter what the check is. And some folks feel like, man, for the right price, you can have it. So
Yep.
I love asking that dichotomy of my writer friends, you know?
Yep. Most definitely. Most definitely. Are you asking me that question as well too?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So
Cool.
you have a comic book coming out. We'll get to that later, but just for
Yeah.
example, your comic book Flames, I saw that coming
Yep.
out.
Flamer. Yep. Flamer.
So I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
let's say that Amazon Prime said, look, we need some original content. We'll cut you a check to get your comic book and adopt it. What do you say to that?
Nope.
So let's say it's 250 grand.
Keep your check.
Let's say it's 500 grand.
Keep your check.
So give me the why. $500,000, give me the why. Because I'm asking
So.
because you know why? Not saying you take the focus off of you for 1 second. Most of us independent authors, you're not going to make 500 grand off of your project, most likely. That's not realistic, right? I said it's
Most
impossible.
definitely.
It's not realistic. Out of all
Mm-hmm.
your sales combined, you probably won't make 500 grand. So most
Right.
times it's pretty much like, man, take it. Like you can have it. $500,000, you know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So give me your
Yeah.
strong why as to why it's like, nah, you can't take it. What's the why?
Absolutely. It's about integrity, my man. Like at the end of the day, I want to not just put out a great piece of work that people can enjoy. I also want to show my integrity as well too. The reality is that I'm setting an example in the actions and the things that I do. A lot of people, they love to conflate what an artist, a creator, or entertainer does and produces both, and they actually absorb both of those things. So when you see a celebrity, a lot of times you may love what they do, and then you may also take on their belief system, which is why a lot of us do tend to like idolize and actually, uplift and hold in high esteem a lot of these celebrities. A lot of times their belief systems are questionable, but like the product that they put out is good. So, you give them a pass and may even justify some of their belief systems. So I do not want to be that type of person. I want to be an individual who is doing something independent and is showing that we pro-blacks, people in the grassroots, people like that are actually doing things independently where we don't need the dominant society to fund what we do. Now, what I will say is that if there was a chance for me to maybe negotiate, it's weird. I think somebody actually talked about negotiating, but like if there was a chance for me to maybe like negotiate and have the terms that I wanted and they accepted it, then so be it. But I don't think that if those terms meant that I had allowed them to take all the rights, they got to put in their agendas and things like that, I would want to specify the things that I did not want. Otherwise, we would have a lawsuit on our hands. I would not want to do, that's the only way I would do something like that. And I mean, there is a way that you can do that and you can be strategic, and I'm okay with that. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. A lot of the greats were actually preparing to do that. A lot of like our FBA ancestors, or not ancestors, like FBA legends, like like Michael Jackson and Prince and people like that. They were going and they were doing, silly shit, in society so that, white dominated society would basically buy into them and they would take their money and make power moves. Michael was already starting to do that, and Prince was on his way to doing that as well too. So sometimes you have that, what I call the black insider spy hustle. So I'm not knocking that. But at the same time, I see myself as an individual who wants to independently fund these things. Now, the one thing I will say, as far as like making a lot of money, I think we have to think about the mindset itself first. What should be the goal to be? The goal should be to create wealth that you pour into something that you're creating, that you're passionate about, so that you can try to help do something constructive for society, not necessarily make a whole bunch of dough and help nobody but yourself. That's not the type of person that I am. And that's not the type of person that I want to teach other people who are around me to be as well, too. And I think that those are the types of leaders that we have to be. Now, I'm not saying that somebody doesn't deserve to be able to make a lot of money. You do if you create something good and people buy into it. I think that's totally fine. But you should also at the same time be doing something that is constructive and literally tailored only and specifically to Black people. And I don't see people out here doing that.
All right. Yeah, the question was asked in the chat, can you negotiate to keep the certain rights or have certain parts remain the same? Now, I have not had the pleasure yet to be in front of Netflix or Hulu, to be at that table, to be able to tell you definitively you can or you can't. I'm not here to make that kind of claim on the platform. We're just hypothetical talking, but I don't know personally. I don't know that just yet. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know.
I think you can to a certain extent, probably, but I think you got to be real strategic about it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that you should be really clear about the things that you want. And if you're not getting them, go elsewhere to try to get them. That, I guess that's essentially what I was getting at.
Yeah.
But that's part of integrity, once again, is sticking to your guns and not letting anybody move you on things you don't want to do.
I want to say, on a positive note, every time a book being turned into a movie or a series, I get so excited because all of these streaming platforms right now, they want to have their claim on original content. So guess what? They got to come to us creatives now. They got to come to us writers, go and find something fresh and new. So anybody out there that's writing and creating, you should be encouraging this time right now. Like, man, you never know who gonna see, who will come across to where they might, man, it could be a real situation for you. It could really happen because some of these people that's on TV right now, they were where we at right now, independent writing or whatever they were doing. And, look at on Netflix, Bridgerton, right? That book was written 25, 30 years ago.
Yep.
I don't know if she's still alive or not, the actual original writer of Bridgerton, but Shonda Rhimes on vacation. She forgot her book at the crib. A housekeeper passed her the book, like, man, take this, borrow this book. And she read it, and she loved it, and now it took off to like 3-4 different series, got spin-off series. Like it's a major media sensation right now. So you never know. You never know.
Most definitely. I was going to tell you, I think the other thing that people need to understand too is that, like, although what I'm saying is good and we do need to do things independently and find ways to make our own money, and I get everybody on the financial literacy wave as well too, but that's not enough to a certain extent. You also have to be able to advocate for reparations and things like that, because that stuff is actually the type of wealth that we as Black people really need at the end of the day.
And my last note on the Black Cake before we move on to the next topic, the Black Cake, to me, they also did a good job later on in the series. I don't want to spoil it, but later on in the series, they end up in London, right? They're up in London. But you're seeing the racial injustice that they're facing even in London, because some Black folks are so short-sighted, they don't realize the global system of white supremacy. You thinking like, man, this is the U.S. I'm going to just leave the U.S. and everything all good. I'm going to just leave the U.S. coast and everything. No. You got to face this everywhere you go. You're a Black and brown person. You facing this everywhere. And they did a good job, in my opinion, of showing that. Also, the importance of having family ties. The mother's the main character, and her stunning daughter are carrying the show. And just showing you what happens whenever family keeps secrets and things are not said and things are not distributed out. It causes ripple effect through the whole family for generations. Things that the main character didn't do or didn't say had a ripple effect through the whole lineage. And so all that's shown in there as well. I just give that little tidbit, some positivity on the show.
Yeah. And, and I want to make it clear, like, even when I'm saying the things I'm saying, it's not even like me trying. I know you're not saying this, but like, it's not even me being negative per se. What I'm doing is pointing out the things that I think a lot of people need to really pay attention to and the things that people really need to look at. You know what I mean? Because even piggybacking off of what you said, it's important for people to know history, because even that could be a lesson, right? You know, those things really did happen. You know, when you think about reparations, it's funny. I actually just spoke about it. Reparations are not just owed to foundational Black Americans. They're actually owed to Blacks all over the diaspora. Even when you look at like the Caribbeans and stuff like that, you know, you got the Haitians and the French, you got the Jamaicans and the British. So that it's funny how like they were in London, and that's really who mainly owes a lot of those Jamaicans like reparations in the first place.
Now, I don't want to go off track at all. I'm only making a small point. One of my best friends called me on the phone last month. He said, Sean, have you seen Miss Japan? I'm like, nah, what's up with it? I'm in the park playing ball. I'm on the phone like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
He said, man, Miss Japan is a white woman. What?
Yeah.
He said, bro, go and look at it. Miss Japan is a white woman. I'm like, these people just don't stop. Like, it's just, there's no ending to it, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
You know, it's deeply rooted, bro. It's deeply rooted.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
My next flip. So the Amazon, the Paramount Plus got a series coming out. It's on the character, if I can do it, Knuckles. Knuckles, the series, all the video game heads out there. You love Sonic the Hedgehog back in the day, Sega Genesis. I was on that wave a long time ago. Until last night, I had not seen the Sonic series and everything on Netflix, but for this show, get my education up. I saw some Sonic the Hedgehog on Netflix, and this is on Paramount Plus. Give us your take on the Knuckles series coming out. You had a full video on that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, most definitely. So, first of all, before I even get into the series, I want to say that Knuckles is my favorite Sonic character. He might actually be one of my favorite cartoon characters ever created.
I was on Tails. I was big on Tails. I love Tails.
You like Tails?
I like Tails.
Yeah, Tails is cool. Tails is really in the Sonic series, like they just had cool characters in general.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. As far as like comics go, my first ever comic book, and the comic books I was primarily into growing up were the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, like the Archie comics.
I had no idea that Sonic was the actual comic until you said it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
Was it a comic before the game or after the game?
I think
as far as timing,
I want to say it might have been before, but it's hard to tell. They were pretty close. That part I don't know specifically, to be honest with you.
That's cool.
But I will say that it was around that same time, though. It was around the Sega Genesis time where I actually started like seeing them. I'd have to look that up myself. That's a great question. But what I was gonna say though is that I used to really be into the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, and really, to be honest, they're far better than the games, and the games are already phenomenal. And you know, when it comes to like Sonic the Hedgehog, I've seen the changes too over the years as well. I've seen like where it felt like Sonic was just going to be an obsolete series. Like at some point, like the games were amazing because you had the Sonic 2D platformers like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Then you had like that Sonic Adventure era where they had the 3D games, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, that type of thing. And then maybe after Sonic Heroes, there was like this weird phase where the games felt like it was just going downhill. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was just a bunch of crap. And so after a while, I was like, this Sonic series is dead. The reason why I brought all this stuff up is because I think you were asking me here about like the trailer. The Sonic movie series plus this kind of Knuckles the Echidna addition to the TV series, in my opinion, was a revamp of the Sonic series, which I've always loved. Because to me, I felt like both the Sonic movies were phenomenal. The second one was even better than the first one. And they especially did a good job with Knuckles the Echidna's character. And him being voiced by Idris Elba was a perfect fit. That was a perfect fit. Now, let me tell you why.
I had no idea about that.
Yep.
That's a plus. Now I got to go and check. I had no idea about that.
Yep. I thought it was a perfect fit because, like, first of all, we all know Knuckles is supposed to be a black person. That's part of another trope. That's called the pseudo-black trope. But I'll go into that another time. I just wanted to make this point about Knuckles real quick. So I saw the TV series trailer, and I thought it was cool. I thought that the Knuck If You Buck thing was real interesting and real creative. I did like that, and I thought it fit him very well. And again, I just really love the Idris Elba Knuckles character. I think I can't think of anything wrong. I think that's dope. I do think that the way they fit him into the series, they made him a big deal again, and they didn't make him a goofball or a throwaway or an idiot, because that's the trope I've been seeing with Knuckles lately, is that people have been trying to make him into an idiot. And I don't like that, because I really think that when they made Knuckles into an idiot, they were really taking a shot at black folks. And I'm going to tell you why real quick. When you think about the Knuckles the Echidna character, he really was made based off of black people. And here's how you can tell. He has locks, kind of like, you got the locks. Knuckles is also, if you look at his shoes, he has the Rastafarian flag colors on his shoes, because he has the yellow and the green and all this other stuff. And then also, too, he's very tribal, as if he's like a foundational black American. So he has a very like high tribal lineage as well, too. So
the one I saw last night, he had a gold tooth last night. The one I saw on Netflix, he had a gold tooth. I was like,
yeah, and that's the thing, too. Knuckles also is he also, if you ever look at the games, he's always rapping in a lot of like the games and stuff like that as well, too. So anybody who sees Knuckles would infer that he is indeed a black person in echidna form. I will say the only thing I did not like about the trailer, there's two things I didn't like about the trailer real quick. The first thing I didn't like about the trailer was the fact that the villain, to me, I'm not exactly sure where they're going with it. And I feel like they have a lot of chances to do a lot of creative things. And from the trailer, I didn't see them doing any of it. Again, I don't want them to reveal everything. Don't get me wrong. But I felt like they were going in they could have been going in a certain route, but it could be my imaginative mind imagining that they're going in a video game story route, but they might not be. So I didn't really, it wasn't like a good mystery. It was like it kind of felt like, what are y'all doing here? The other thing that I didn't really like is that in the title or that little caption, like the punchline, it said he hits different. It reminded me of a gentrified black restaurant. Like, how white people, they like to gentrify an area, and then like they'll make a soul food restaurant, and then like they'll charge you like $25 for a plate, maybe 2 pieces of chicken, and then all sides are a la carte. That's kind of what it felt like. Because I'm like, he hits different, or it hits different is something that black people were saying back in like 2021, 2022. So it felt like in 2024, white people saying it makes me cringe to even say it now myself.
Well, I'm gonna go somewhere a little bit different with this. Still on topic though, right?
Yeah.
They always use us, the music, the culture, the style, the flair, the whatever, the essence, right? They use it to sell. Have you seen the Transformer series on Paramount? It came out last year. Transformer series on Paramount.
I think so. Yep.
But a lot of those characters were black.
Yeah.
A lot of the characters in there were black and brown people, right? Even the main family in there that's not robots. The main family in there, they might have been like, there's some kind of like cultural thing going on with them. I can't remember if they were black or Filipino.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of cultural, ethnic stuff, and it get confusing because a lot of us say we want representation. We want representation. We want our characters. We want to see ourselves. Our kids want to see themselves. But in the middle of that, some other things could be going on behind the scenes too. If you're not careful with that.
Yep. I was gonna say, this is the last thing I'll say real quick about that. A lot of people need to understand something very important when it comes to this quote unquote representation. The white supremacists, they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing. Just like sex sells, so does melanation. And that means everything that comes with melanation. So black faces, black music, black trends, those are the things that they're taking and scalping. And that's a whole nother like agenda as well, too. They're scalping and they're putting into their lore and then making money and profits off of it. So they know absolutely what they're doing.
Because it's a dichotomy, right? I'm gonna give you a wild example I always use. The whole, the amount of black products at Target right now, right? Which is great. I got this sweater from Target, by the way.
Yeah.
Black History Month, you know how I go. Target,
I
right?
like that.
I appreciate it. So it's two sides of a coin. Either they really care about black and brown people, and they really want to amplify black and brown people, right? Or if we do this, it's gonna be a big draw to get more money.
Yeah.
So I don't really actually care. I'm gonna just use whatever little trinkets and whatever little signage and posters and some black sisters on the poster, some black kids on the poster. Whatever it takes to get y'all in here to get y'all dollars, I'm doing that. I don't care about y'all.
Yeah.
So it's like you trying to weigh, do they really care, or do you is this just a money grab? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They don't care at all. They don't care at all. It's all about their money. And also too, with that, bro, another thing to keep in mind is they operate, and this is one thing everybody needs to understand about white supremacy. They operate in deceit. So when they operate in deceit, they're trying to make you think that one thing is happening, but then it's really something else going on in the background.
Always the background, man. But they say follow the money, right? Follow the money.
Yep.
Follow the money.
Yes, sir.
And you know, for a long time, I'm 42, by the way, just to give my age and reference. For so many years of our life, I couldn't find something like this, like at a local Walmart or a local Target. I had to go to certain little spots. I had to go to certain little hoods to get something that was Africanized and something with our insignia and our representation on it. So the initial rush, like, wow, that's that Target? It's like a sprint. Like, wow, you know, on social media, people posting it. Man, look what's that Target. Look at it, look at these shopper keepers. Look at these binders. Look at these journals. You know what I'm saying? Like, because your mind never saw it. I had locks before. I had locks twice, by the way. When I had locks years ago, I couldn't really find lock products at the local Walmart.
I bet.
But now there's an actual ethnic section in Walmart where it's all these black and brown products, you know, where they look black and brown. Because we realized lately, a lot of these white companies, they put a Jamaican label on the front of that thing. And you thinking I'm buying black. It's not. You think you're buying black. They know what they're doing. They put a little papaya, a little something on there to make you think, oh, it's black. But it's all this smoke and mirrors, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's pacification. That's what that's called. That's pacification. If black people know, it's like, it may even be happy medium pacification, because if they put you on too much, then, you know, it really may end up being a put on. That's why they don't do anything tangible. They do things symbolic. So they pacify you so that you don't revolt. It kind of goes back to blaxploitation. A lot of people don't know that blaxploitation was the original form of pacification, because back in that time, that was like in the 70s and stuff like that, in the early 60s, where there were riots all over, you know, the United States, and they put out blaxploitation so that black people basically didn't break off in their asses.
Right. Now, let me tell you a funny story right quick. It's on my platform. I can say what I want on my platform, right? You know what I felt played in the store, bro? This is like last December. Me and the family in there going to get something right quick, going to a holiday party or something. And there was this big, huge 7-foot display at Walmart for the black and brown Band-Aids. And they had all these different shades of Band-Aid, right? Now I understand the premise. I'm supposed to feel real good because now I can find a Band-Aid to match my skin. But something about it just rubbed me the wrong way. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I'm in Walmart like, what are we doing here? I felt silly. I felt silly for being upset about it, but it was kind of like, come on, man, this is going too far, bro.
No, you wasn't silly. You wasn't silly for it. And I think too many people weren't woken up to validate you how you felt, which was valid.
Yeah. Because once again, it's 40-some years. I never had a Band-Aid my color, right? So I should feel like, okay, bet I can get a Band-Aid now. I can wear it and it blends in. I'm supposed to feel and think that way, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and I totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah. So next, I'll be going to a good one. We're going to the film, the Spideyverse, right? That was a big old splash last year into the Spideyverse. Big wave. A lot of folks talked about it last year. Give us your take on this whole Spideyverse thing. I saw you had a video for that too on your page. Now the audience, he has his own. He got 2 YouTube pages, I think. We'll get into that later. All the film we're talking about, he has actual full-length videos per film we're talking about tonight. You can go and check his page out, hear the full rundown of what he's saying to get the full context. We just kind of touching it tonight, but it's very, very good topics, man. So yeah, Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I appreciate that, my man. So first thing I want to say about it is a lot of people always talk about, was Miles Morales the best Spider-Man and all this other stuff? And obviously he was the best one that was depicted. I would agree with that statement. So I want to make sure I get that out the way before everything I'm about to say. A lot of people like Miles Morales because I think that so many people are Spider-Man heads, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But I think that I'm talking in the context of blurs. A lot of people want to actualize somebody who looks like them in a Spider-Man suit. And Miles Morales was somebody who was pushed to the forefront as an individual who could fulfill that wish that a lot of black nerds had. But here's the problem. He wasn't actually the first black Spider-Man. Actually, there was a character that was called Anansi His first name began with a K. I think it was called Kawasi or something like that, Anansi, and he was actually a black Spider-Man. They even talk about him in the comic books. So he wasn't really like the first one, and it actually was admitted that he was the first as well too. And
You
even
know
if you look,
what?
well, go
As
ahead.
you saying that, it sparked in my mind. I did hear about that. I did
Yep,
hear about that. You got it.
yep,
You got it. You right. So
yep,
wow. Good job,
yep,
boy. Keep going.
yep, yep. And so the thing is that with this Spider-Man character, even if you look at like just like African lore, think about
Yep.
like the spider deity or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
him,
Enough.
Anansi.
Yep. Yep. That's
Yeah,
right.
he was that Spider-Man was actually created from his origin. So that's why I said that the white supremacist a lot of times loves to scalp black culture and then
Yes.
turn them into characters, which is how
A
you
lot of
got.
Marvel, a lot of Marvel and DC stuff come
Mhm.
from our culture more than folks realize, bro. A
Absolutely.
lot of
Oh yeah,
Stan Lee,
absolutely.
and I don't know who will be on the DC side, but Stan Lee was
Mhm.
definitely watching our culture back in the 70s and the 60s and all that. He was definitely watching it.
Absolutely. It wasn't DC too, because Superman is one character that was like that. Batman was like that. Wonder Woman is another character that all of them came from black culture to some extent. But yeah, going back to your to the thing about Miles Morales. So I watched both of the movies. I watched the Across the Spider Verse and I watched Into the Spider Verse as well too. And story wise, they were both good movies. They both were great movies, actually. I will say, and they were enjoyable. I think the main problem I have with the Miles Morales series, though, is the fact that they are trying to erase foundational Black American culture, and I don't like that. And they're doing it very blatantly as well too. They're almost not even like slick about it, like with Miles Morales. So that's one thing I really don't like. And they continue the agenda from one movie to another. Usually with these movies and TV shows, they try to do different things. They try to do little like weird things or whatever. They actually continue this trend on into another movie. And I'm going to give you an example of why. It seemed to me that they are trying to big up his Latinx, if that's what you want to call it, Latino, Latina culture, Hispanic culture, more than they were his FBA culture. Because in the first place, his name was Miles Morales. Typically, the child or offspring doesn't really take on the mother's last name, especially when they're actually married. The mother and the father are married, which they were. And so his mother, if you look at her, she was like a white Hispanic, or she was ambiguous Black Hispanic. That's a better way to put it. Because sometimes she looked melanated, sometimes she didn't. Why would his name be Miles Morales? It should be Miles Davis. I know why. Because Miles Davis is actually the name of a famous foundational Black American jazz player. And a lot of people they did not want you to see that. They didn't want you to see that they are honoring somebody's culture, like that being our culture. And here's my issue with that as well, too. If you look in the movie, they made like his FBA side look bad. Think about it. His granddaddy was made to seem like a degenerate and a bad, abusive man. The father's name was Jefferson Davis, and that's a whole name for a white supremacist. You had like the dad who, again, Jefferson Davis, who was also like a police officer. And if you think about police officers, they're associated with being race soldiers and police brutality. So Black people are being affiliated in that way. His uncle was also a tool of white supremacy who got broken. And so there's also like all these little agendas that are going on. And it seems like they're trying to push Miles further and further away from his FBA side while letting you know, hey, guess what, y'all? He's Black. Because even in Hispanic cultures, what do they usually do? They usually hyphenate names. So even if they would have went like Miles Davis Morales or Morales Davis or whatever the case was, that would have made more sense. But they didn't. And that tells me that that was intentional.
So along with the intentionality, and I'm just
Mhm.
asking across the Marvel spectrum for the past few years, have you seen
Yeah.
that new series called Echo yet?
Yes, I did.
Echo series? Okay.
Yes, I
So,
did.
so in Echo, she is like Native American, right? Is that,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
asking a
I
question.
guess you could say that. Yeah, yeah.
Because her and her family and the tribe and all that is Native American content, right?
Yeah, I wasn't laughing at you. I was the reason why I said I guess you could say that is because the blacks are the real natives, and she's like a red native. So it's the red native that gets hyped up all the time.
Yeah,
That's why I was laughing. So yeah,
yeah. But no, what I'm saying with Marvel is like after the Black Panther years ago, and it started booming the Black Panther. What's your boy name was? Shanghai, Shang, whatever. But the
Shang-Chi.
name of it,
Yeah,
Shang-Chi, right?
Shang-Chi. Yeah. Uh,
Was basically like an Asian Black Panther, what they did as far as the imagery and the culture and everything like that. Then there's this
right.
other series that came out that did focus on the Latino community. Was it like one,
Yeah.
one of the Miss Marvels or something like that? Miss Marvel.
Are you talking about are you
It
talking
was
about Miss
one of those Disney Plus series. It was a Disney Plus series with a female character, but
You
it seemed
talking
to be
about Miss
focused on like a
Marvel?
kind of a Latino kind of. It could have been. It could have been. It's so many of them now.
Yeah, Miss Marvel, she was middle or Arabic.
Oh yeah. That's good job, boy. That's what it was. She was more of the Arabic. So it's like
Yep.
they're going through these different cultures, trying to, I want to say, bring more folks in, if you will. They're doing all these
Yeah.
different cultural pieces or whatever, right?
Yes.
Once again, trying to show inclusion and trying to show representation, right? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
like you and
that's what
like you
they're trying to do.
you and I said this last year. You're
Mm-hmm.
seeing more and more female leads on almost all of these things, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
saying in the bad way. Shout out to the sisters, respect all the sisters, but like almost everything you see now, the protagonist is probably gonna be a female, right? Some kind of
Mm-hmm.
way. We got a new Black Panther poster you and I a couple of days ago. It's pretty much like it's womaned out. Like it's like the Wonder Woman island where it's all women. Like the
Mm-hmm.
whole poster is just women now, right? The guys are
Mm-hmm.
just pretty much going, whatever, right?
Yep.
Whatever's
Mm-hmm.
going on with that idea, agenda is, it's a lot going on behind the scenes, bro.
I want to say something about that.
Yeah, sure.
What's ironic about what you said is, and black women usually aren't even the main characters, and if they are the main characters, they're not an original character. So there's that. Because why is Monica not a character? I guess she wouldn't be original too. So there you go.
Yeah, 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 man. See, once again, for the people that's watching this, man, these TV shows and movies and comics, everything, it's all for a reason. But this is a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar business. They study psychology. They study colors and sounds and vibrations and megahertz. They know exactly what to put on the screen to get you to draw and tune in. They know this science, bro. We just
Mm-hmm.
see, we the ones that say, man, we don't care about that. It's just a movie, but they
Yeah.
studying the science.
Yep.
We don't
Yep.
care. They studying. See
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yep. And because of that, they can indoctrinate you.
Yes. Do you think a
Yep.
Super Bowl halftime commercial that's 30 seconds costs that much money for no reason?
Exactly.
Come on, bro.
Exactly.
Everything you
Yep.
see on that screen for them 30 seconds, for them 7 seconds, is for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
For the
Absolutely.
subconscious mind, it's for a reason.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree 100%.
You know? I want to go to your book. Your
Mm-hmm.
book, your brand new book coming out this spring, I believe it is, the
Yep.
Pro Black Blurred series. Tell us about it and what you can tell us about it. And where could they get it?
So this book is going to be coming out in the spring, and the idea behind this book is for me to actually take my brand and things I talk about. You said I talk about tropes and agendas and things like that on social media. Take that and create a new extension and it to be in the books. So now what I'm going to be doing is talking about a list of tropes, and I'm categorizing all of these tropes as well too. So it's going to be a book that's going to be a mix of two different genres. I guess you could call it a historical nonfiction, and also is autobiographical at the same time, because I talk a lot about my life, some of my experiences dealing with race, dealing with those types of issues and things like that have happened over the years, and how they relate to a lot of the tropes that we see on television, or how maybe some of those tropes maybe have even influenced either my behaviors, choices, or maybe like I was able to kind of pinpoint where the issues were as a result of what happened to me. So I created this book in order to be relatable so that people could understand and learn
Yeah,
what these different tropes look like, and then the psychology as to what is why and who is doing it, and how even the fans are affected by it.
see, it's important and it's vital because in a
Mhm.
casual conversation with you might say, man, that's this trope, that's that trope, that's this trope. Oh man, that's
Yep.
this trope, that's that trope. The average casual looker probably
Mhm.
oblivious to 80% of these things that's on the screen. But
Yep.
now,
Mhm.
giving us language
Mhm.
and proper context, we can identify and see. It's like going to a doctor office and they say, "Oh, you're dealing with this, this, and that." Now we can label it. Now I know how
Yep.
to go about treating it and addressing it and solving it. Right. So that's a vital book for us to have going forward.
Yes. I appreciate that. Most definitely. Like I was gonna say, so when I finally actually self-publish it, the whole idea is to have it on Amazon, and I'll have it as where people can buy it in person and things like that. Like I can deliver it to people. I prefer it that way. I ain't gonna lie to you because they be taking a lot of, they're taking a big cut with Amazon and whatnot. But that's how you can get it from me once it does come out.
We always say on this platform and other platforms, support the author directly if you can. Inbox your
Mm,
favorite author, email them, try to get a copy from them directly first. And if they can't, then you go to Amazon or wherever else you got to go. But if you can help it, holler
mm.
at them directly first, holler at me directly. It's way better than Amazon. They're taking so much of your cut, ridiculous. So
Yeah.
gotta highlight that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna get to it now. You also have a new comic book coming up. And
Hmm.
you have a black sci-fi book. Tell us about those if you can.
Most definitely. So I'll start with the black sci-fi book. So as far as like the black sci-fi book goes, that's something that I'm going to be working on once I get all the finishing touches together when it comes to this pro-black pro-black book that's going to be coming out soon. So that's going to be in nonfiction. So with a lot of the content I'm putting out, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be some fiction stuff because I already have one book out that's fiction. It's going to be nonfiction and then fiction. So with this book that's coming out, it's going to be a book, and I won't say too much, but I'll kind of give a little some. It was based actually off of a dream that I had that I turned into an actual story. That's going to be a series with at least 5 books. 5 books are planned for this series as of right now. And the whole idea behind this book is I wanted to create a science fiction book that talked about Black people and involved only or mostly Black people, and something that I could see as a cinematic production at some point. So that's something I'm going to be working on more so in 2025. But I did want to at least let people know, hey, this is something that, I have been thinking about and I do have an outline for, but I need to write the manuscript.
So tell us about the importance of black people in the sci-fi space, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of folks say when it comes to black and brown people, like they don't really see us in the future, right? Go back to the old things from the 80s and the 90s, all their sci-fi stuff, Terminator, The Matrix. We could name different things where it was like predominantly, you might have had that 1 or 2 black characters in there, but the whole film in the
Mm-hmm.
future, there's not many of us around. So tell us the
Yeah.
importance of Black people in the sci-fi space.
Well, there's 2 things that are important to understand with that. Number one, it tells you a lesson about white supremacy, and it also tells you what white supremacy is hiding. So let me tell you what I mean by that. The white supremacists created all these different TV shows, movies, all this different content because they were creating this agenda called revisionist history. That means that they were talking about something that was historical or something that could actually, the reverse of that, what will happen in the future. So even futuristic, they know about that as well too. They know that their species is going to get wiped out at a certain point, just from a genetic standpoint. That's not me talking crap about white people or anything like that. That's just a fact, because genetically they're more recessive. So they know they weren't going to be there. So they have to revise history to make it seem like they are going to be there. So that's how you know that they're trying to dominate that space, because they had to lie about who existed in the future. So that's one thing that it tells you. The second thing it tells you is what it's hiding, which is the truth, which is that we're mostly going to be there. So I think that's the thing that people need to understand about that. They're telling you a lot about the way that they deceive and they try to revise things so that you're confused about history and how it happened. And because the only person's word you're trusting is them because they're quote unquote dominant. But then it also tells you the truth of what they're actually hiding in their lore. Now, here's another thing that people need to pay attention to. When it comes to Black people in science, we were the original nerds, y'all. We were the original blurs. And the reason why I say that is because we're the ones who bought people science and math, and we tinkered with things. We discovered things. We invented things. We invented nearly everything that people enjoy today. And because of that, I think that we have been the total influence on society. As a matter of fact, and I think there's a book called Iceman Inheritance, and it says
Yes,
this: we will be light
Michael
years
Bradley.
ahead.
Michael Bradley.
Yep. We'd be
Michael
light
Bradley.
years ahead where we're at. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let
Yep.
me ask you a question. I
Mhm.
heard the phrase where they said that necessity is the mother of all invention, right? Necessity,
Mhm.
the mother of all invention. Who was the
Yep.
people the most need in necessity for hundreds of years? That would be us.
Yeah. Right.
So
Absolutely.
of course we had to invent a lot of things to make our lives, I want to say, better as we could. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. You're right about that.
But yeah, I'm thinking about like Star Wars, Star Trek,
Mhm.
Back to the Future. I can just rattle off. Like where we at?
Yep.
Where
Even
we
even like
at?
even the Jetsons, even the Jetsons. Like that's a very simple one. Think about the Jetsons. It's almost as if the year they were talking about is pretty close to the year that we're at right now. So I say that to say, look how that they made it seem. They made it seem like there's going to be flying cars and all this other shit that's going on. Let me tell you what's happening there, because it's actually a lot deeper than just it being a cartoon. They're telling you the truth about how history would have been had we been in power and had we been the ones trying to control technology and things like that. They just placed their faces there. But instead, because we're not light years ahead, we did not end up with spaceships flying around. We ended up basically with maybe like more advanced versions of the stuff that we already had maybe decades ago. So that's the Jetsons low key was telling you about history, but lying as if the people who were there was them when it really would have been us who would have been in that position.
I love it. I love it. And now your comic
Mhm.
book. I love
Yep.
black people in the space of comics. I've been getting bigger on comics the past 2 years.
Mhm.
And I'm making more
Yep.
concerted effort to find black creators. I bought a Cyborg comic a couple of days ago. This black creator, I
Mm.
can't think of the name off the top of my head, the black creator. You can go to Amazon and look it up. This black person
Mhm.
that's making the Cyborg. I love the Cyborg character. Making the
Yeah.
Cyborg comics recently. And Miles Morales is being written by Jason Reynolds, a brother. I love
Mhm.
Jason Reynolds.
Yeah.
Nick Stone is writing the Shuri series. I love Nick Stone. Eve
Sure.
Young is writing the series as well. So all these black and brown folks, they are out here producing comics. Give us your comic.
Mm-hmm. So I actually have technically two comic worlds. I'm actually starting by putting out the first of those comic worlds, like one of the two that I was working on, and they're actually separate from each other. So this comic world is called the Abiliton series, and specifically the name of the comic is called Flamer. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this Flamer character in this Flamer comic series. So it's essentially going to be about these humanoid elemental looking characters, like the main character, he's like a humanoid fire guy and that type of thing, and they all fight and they all have like abilities and powers and things like that. So it's going to be kind of in that almost Dragon Ball Z style. Like you have certain characters that are powerful than others, and you have projectiles that they shoot and they fight and things like that. Some may even think that it might be maybe a good manga or something like that, but it's so colorful, I think I'd be doing it an injustice by making it one. I think it would be a better comic book. But anyway, here's the thing about this series. Although it talks a lot about these elemental-esque type of characters, what people don't realize is that it's actually about race. But we're taking a different spin on race. We're not necessarily looking at, the fact that you see black people, white people, stuff like that. You see these elemental-esque characters that all represent different races, but they talk so much about history. So my thing is, like, if the white supremacists can make allegories, so can I. And so I'm using my series to not only make allegories, but also do it in a subtle way that makes you enjoy and rock with the series, while also wanting to dig deeper to see what was the origin of me coming up with these characters. So the Flamer series is something that I started working on and started drawing back in like probably 09, 2010. And just now am I getting to the point where I'm like, I want this into a real series, because I wrote so much of it. I actually made, I don't think I even said this at all, like even on my channel, I actually have about 7 arcs worth of like content that I actually could create. I just need an artist to bring it to life, bro.
Oh my God. You said, yeah, 7 arcs of content?
Yes, 7 arcs.
Okay, so I'm gonna clip this up right now for all my
Mhm.
illustrators out there. My brother just said it. He needs some artwork. You got the content to ready to go, man. If you're out there, you an artist, you don't
Mhm.
mind putting your pen to the pad, contact my brother. He need artists. The content is made. Let's connect
Most
that
deaf.
thing, man. Let's connect. Let's connect, right? Let's connect.
Most deaf.
I
Yeah,
love
we're
it.
gonna have
I
to make
love it.
it happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
And you know what? I had an illustrator on my channel last year.
Mhm.
I think the brother's based out of Canada. I'm remember correctly. He has some
Correct.
amazing artwork. Whenever you and I conclude later on tonight, I'm gonna see some of his work over, and I'll send the contact over to you later on.
Most definitely. Cool. Sounds good.
Facts, facts. I got one last concluding question before we get out of this thing tonight, man. You had a very interesting topic on your page I wanted to address.
Hmm.
This is about black people going to college. Black people
Yeah.
going to college. Now, before we start, I want a disclaimer. I went to college, you went to college. So we are
Yep.
two college guys, been through academia. We're not just some guys on live just shooting the breeze. We both actually went through academia. We've been in the field. We're on the other side of this thing. So give
Yep.
us your take on why you said that black and brown people, maybe college isn't the best thing always.
Most definitely. To be honest, college is a total scam. It's a scam. It's a sham. It's everything in between. It's horrible. I think that when it comes to black people in college, at the end of the day, the problem with it is that it sets black people to be up in the negatives. And when I talk about college, I want to be very specific because I don't want people to be like, well, what about trade school, man? What about trade school? I'm specifically talking about formal college, like when you go to a university that everybody knows about, that type of thing. The reason why it's a scam and a sham is because at the end of the day, you are really setting yourself up to go work for people who hate you, and you're taking on debt so that you can do that. And the problem is that you're already set behind because you have all these white supremacists who take your resources, steal your resources, your family's resources and stuff like that. You don't have wealth in your community and all this other stuff. And then what they're trying to do is they're trying to push an individualistic mindset and mentality onto you. So you're not really trying to even help your community as a whole. And I think the problem with that is you're starting in the negatives because now you're acquiring more debt just so you can work for people to try to work your way up to that point. And you're really not competing with your non-black and also white counterparts. Now, let me tell you about a theory that I have about college. I have this theory called the college box theory. The college box theory, I believe, was something that was created and started by what I call the old niggas or the old Negroes. The old Negroes, to be very specific, was the civil rights generation. So specifically, mainly those black baby boomers and all of them. A lot of them people are off code and they were there to sell you out. I'm just being totally honest with y'all. I'm not a sugarcoater. I'm somebody who tries to keep it real. They really just sold you out. And the reason why is because they want a system of integration where you're not rocking the boat. So now what that means is you have to take up a mentality of individualism. And that's the way that they teach you. So when they send you to college, what are you there to do? Get a job for yourself so you can make something for yourself, make something of yourself. But you're not really helping your community or society or having the proper way of codification. So anyway, college box theory. So you go to college, right? And they already know that you're going there because they don't have a plan for you. You're going to figure it out once you get there because you smart enough to do that. And hopefully you can do that to help the family. Anyway, so you go to college, right? And then you take all these classes. You learn these things in theory. You don't get real skills. You don't learn about stocks. You don't learn how to start a business. You don't learn about bonds. You don't learn about crypto. I know crypto's newer, but you get my point in what I'm trying to say. You don't learn about all of these practical skills that you're going to need in the real world. And then people, like, once you get out there, are like, well, why don't you know it? It's your fault. But they're browbeating you, but despite the fact that they know that college, and they know this, and that's why I said people are disingenuous. They know that you don't learn these things in college. So it's actually ridiculous for people to even say that. And what ends up happening is some people end up being successful and some aren't, but too many end up taking on a lot of debt, not getting the job they even want, and then end up having to pay all that money back within 6 months. And here's the problem. Although you've already been set up with that mindset that you're trying to be here on an individualistic basis and you're trying to make a success of yourself, you can't even really get into the world and understand that white supremacy is happening around you, because as a college student, the only things that you're focused on is who is the next chick that you're gonna knock down or who's the next dude you're gonna have sex with. You're focused on partying, and the epitome of pro-blackness that you may get may be Black Greeks and Divine Nine and or events that you may put on. And even those have a glass ceiling, and the university basically controls what that is or is not. It's basically a bad business product. It's like basically going to Best Buy, buying a refrigerator. It don't cool your food, it don't freeze your food, but it will store it, and you can't take it back, and you can't charge out of bankruptcy. Ain't that a bitch?
And I'll be personal for myself, right? What I
Yep.
realized. So in the
Mhm.
beginning, it's like they keep on moving the goalposts, as they say. Move the goalposts, right?
Yep.
Man, you get your associate degree, great. Boom, you got a degree, you went to college, you graduated, woo, man.
Yep.
Just go and get that bachelor's degree. Just go get that. Okay, boom, go to school again. You go
Mm-hmm.
through it, you graduate, boy, I got my bachelor's. Ooh, man, I made it.
Yep.
Man, just go back and get that master's, but you get that master, you're gonna be separate yourself to get that master. Okay, go get my master. Okay, you get that.
Yep.
Boom. Now
Yep.
go get state certified. Go
Mm-hmm.
get state board certified. And go get this other cert. And I get a PhD. And I get it's like you keep on it's a never ending rat race. Like for what at the end of it? And the job
Yep.
market is so different now, we realizing. I know a lot of college grads that make less money than some people working at some of the more regular jobs, doing air quotations, regular jobs that don't require a college degree.
Oh, I know, bro. I know. I know. It's a
So you
shame.
with all this trouble to make this
Mm-hmm.
certain amount per hour, and you can work right here down the street out of high school and make that or
Mm-hmm.
more.
Yep.
So it doesn't. It's not a direct correlation. Like, okay, I got these certain degrees, now I'm making this. It's not apples to apples like that.
It's not, and it depresses the mind and the soul a little bit too, because like as a black person, you're sitting there thinking like, well, this is my one way to success. What do I do now? And even when you finally get on that train of, oh, I need to start a business, here you are, not just trying to live your life, but also trying to pay debt from a useless piece of paper that really didn't do shit for you. So that's why I say, like, I'm blunt with people. I tell them college is a scam. Even if you had an individualistic win, that's good for you, but that ain't got nothing to do with the black collective. And for you to even sit there and utter that means that you really don't care about it that much. So I throw it right back at people.
Yeah. And back to Dr. Carter G. Woodson to go full circle again, in the
Mm-hmm.
miseducation of the Negro, he mentioned how some of the most educated of us serve us the least as far as the
Yep.
community.
Yep.
Some of the most educated of us serve, serve us and our causes the least, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why
Yep.
I was fortunate. I was a grown man. I wasn't a high school kid, fresh out of high school going to college. I was a grown man going to college. So I
Mm-hmm.
had enough consciousness going into college.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in college, besides my college schoolwork, I was still reading all this black and brown history, right? So I was
Mm-hmm.
able to hopefully keep my mind together, even though I'm being in these halls of academia. And not many folks do that. They just pretty much being indoctrinated like a robot, getting input, and you're not producing for yourself, right? So
Absolutely.
it becomes a very, very a conundrum, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's another thing I should have mentioned a little bit earlier. You don't learn about your history. You get indoctrinated, and so then what happens is like you have to find like these roundabout ways to learn about that. Now, a lot of people will, even when I'm saying this, a lot of people they love to find deflection. So I want to address some more, just at least one more deflection. One thing is like, oh well, the parents they should have taught you. The parents they should have taught you this. They should have taught you that. And to people who say that, I'll say you're right, which is why I sat there and I criticized the civil rights generation because they should have. Because at the end of the day, they know better. They may even know better than us that these different white supremacists were actually like out to get black people as a whole. So it was their job to really behind the scenes actually teach us things about ourselves and about our history. And they miserably failed to do that. And I want to make it clear, I'm talking about the civil rights generation and the old Negroes, not elders who I respect, love, and think that are actually there for us, but the old Negroes who sold us out for trinkets.
You know what I think, bro? This is all just hypothetical hindsight.
Yeah.
What they
Mm-hmm.
call Monday morning quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prior to the civil rights movement, when things
Yeah.
were very visceral, like
Yeah.
you're really getting hung for real, and
Right.
you're really getting burned alive for real, like all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Whenever it's like, okay, we can finally go to their school, we
Mm-hmm.
can finally go to their movie theater, we can finally sit at the bar and not get a drink poured on your head. It felt like, whew, like we
Yep.
made it.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, baby, don't rock the boat. Just go to school, get the grades, go graduate, get a job, and live in a subdivision, and like you good. What you
Yep.
complaining about? What you upset about? Because
Mm-hmm.
versus getting hung for real,
Mm-hmm.
you deal with a little stuff at work. What they call that microaggressions. You deal with microaggressions. That's nothing
Yeah.
compared to what granddaddy dealt with in the cane field.
Yeah.
You should be grateful.
Yep.
You should be happy. You should be appreciative. So whenever
Yep.
our generation are talking about our discrepancies at work and what we dealing with and little things in the break room, that's like small things to a giant compared to what my grandfather went through for real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So their mindset is probably that. Like you complain about that. You know what I dealt with?
I'm be honest, they're full
It
of
is
shit.
true. It
They're
is true. You know what I'm saying?
they're,
Not
they're
saying
kind
it's
of full
right.
of
Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm giving the perspective. Like they probably thinking like, bro, I walked 3 miles back and forth to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
You got dropped off for real.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to be clear. Like the baby boomers, to solidify what I'm saying, they're full of shit. But like as far as like the older ancestors, because I always talk about the ancestors. The older ancestors, they have been through things, but we're not supposed to be playing like a piss. We're not supposed to have a pissing contest. The reality is that we have covert white supremacy, and during those times, yeah, it was more difficult to try to create things on your own. Say that again.
No, I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was gonna say I think it's worse. I think we have it worse than my grandfather had it. Because to me, it was clear as day off the top. I know when I see you what it is. But these days, they're gonna invite you to the house, invite you over, bring your family. They're gonna cook for you. You want something to drink? They're gonna give you all a beer, and then Monday morning say the most racist stuff ever at work. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, me and my wife over, you fed us and all that. You really feel like this about black people though?
Yep.
I think the covert is worse than whenever it was overt, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It is worse. It is. It's so funny. Before you said that, that actually was what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say, is that I think that what it ends up coming down to is it's worse in the idea that although they weren't able to kind of start things on their own without literally getting physically beat, I think what it ends up coming down to is that we're in a system of integration. At least with them, a lot of them could kind of work together because they had segregation. Not saying it was a good thing, but it was something to start with that could have turned into ethno aggregation. Now at this point, it's going to be so difficult to get black people on the same page. It doesn't look promising. It's possible, but it doesn't look promising. Is what I'm saying.
It don't. And I spent a lot of time with older people on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 100%. I'm thinking about it right now. Whenever I ask individual older people that went through segregation, was it better before or after integration? I think 100% felt their life was better during segregation.
Yeah.
Education was better.
Yep.
Their neighborhoods were better.
Mm-hmm.
Their livelihood was better. The overall togetherness was better during segregation. 100%. Right. I've never had one person say, "Nah, we finally caught the track to their school, boy. It was just great."
Yeah.
Never heard that.
It was different. It was a different time period. I agree. And that's why I say, like, you got to watch out for these old Negroes, because at the end of the day, a lot of them are actually like lying about history and kind of conflating things, and they kind of leaving it shrouded in mystery. That way you'll never really dig into it. And see, me, I'm not afraid to give accountability to anybody. I don't care if you're 2, I don't care if you're 20, I don't care if you're 70. If you ain't shit, you ain't shit.
Yeah. And you and I was talking about this topic last night in private. I'm gonna say it on the screen what I said last night. I think this whole college conversation, it's a parallel to me of like MLK and all those other leaders. They fought so valiantly and literally was dying and beating the street, bit by the dog, to finally integrate.
Yeah.
And then MLK was like, man, in hindsight, I think I integrated my people into a burning house. Like, I think for our elders, the whole college aspiration thing was like the mark, like the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you realize you finally get to the job market on these people's jobs. Like, that wasn't the touchdown, bro.
No, it wasn't.
Might have been a first down, it wasn't a touchdown. That wasn't the win, bro. That wasn't the win.
You're right. You're
that was not a win.
You're right.
So I think, my personal opinion, and then Joe Biden couldn't even waive all the student loan like we thought before.
Yeah.
So unless you're going for something in the medical field, or the field of law, or like dentistry, like some kind of major field like that, most other fields out there, you probably don't need a 4-year degree at this point. Yeah. And I saw recently in the news article I saw, in the job market, a lot of jobs are pretty much not even having a degree as a requirement anymore.
Of course.
So now look at how obsolete it become. The benchmark was have a master, the minimum requirements, master degree, bachelor degree. So if you take away the minimum requirement, we all did this college thing for what?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And they didn't start doing that until black people started getting degrees and stuff like that.
You know what time it is. Yep. You know what time. Hey, Dr. Naeem Akbar said a long time ago, he said black people are some of the most degreed people in the world.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
And
And
we still on the low side of the economic totem pole.
mm-hmm. I was gonna say you made a good point earlier when you talked about how like some of us who are some of the most degree educated or some of the most off code, you'd be surprised. A lot of them HBCUs are just incubators for coonery. So that's why I say like I think that's the problem is that we think that that equals being educated, and a lot of times it's just really indoctrination manifesting itself.
That's right. That's right. That's right, man. Well, I appreciate my time, man. I don't want to keep you. You're a busy
Yeah.
man, bro, as myself. I
Yep.
really, really always enjoy whenever we can connect, whenever we can build online or private, man. I definitely want to bring you back on a few months down the line to discuss some more TV shows and movies and some more topics, man. And
Uh-huh.
I would definitely, I want to come on your page too, if that's possible. You know, if that's even possible, I would love that, man.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely want to have you on. Once I get my schedule together and stuff
Yeah,
like that, we'll
yeah,
definitely
sure,
chop it up
sure,
there. Yeah,
sure.
yep.
But before you leave, tell the family about your YouTube. You got more than one page. You got more than one Instagram. I think this is a busy man. He got a lot going on, bro. She said, "Thank you both. This is a very enlightening conversation. That's always my goal for all of these shows, for it to be enlightening. It's not just entertainment. I want you to leave with something. So thank you, my whoever said that comment. I appreciate you for that comment. Yeah, you have a lot of platforms. He has the what you call that on Instagram? What's it called?
Colas
It- it-
verse.
it- what's it called?
You talking about the Colas verse Instagram, or you talking about Cool Colas?
The cool cola. It's not a private chat, but it's like a
Oh, the Cool Click channel. The
it's a
Cool Click
channel.
channel.
That's the word.
Yep.
I'm sorry, y'all. He has
Yep.
a channel on Instagram. He's always pretty much on a regular basis updating it and making us aware of different things, man. So give him your handles, man.
Most definitely. So on Instagram, which is the main place that I'm on, you can find me at Cool Colas. I do have an artist page where I actually did some of my drawings for those comics I was talking about at Colas Verse. You can also mainly find me too on YouTube, and that's at Cool Colas again. So Cool Colas is the name of my main YouTube page. I also have a YouTube page called the Pro Black Blurred Kingdom podcast. That's actually my podcast that I have formatted to YouTube, where I go into even deeper topics, break down movies and things like that. And
Yep.
then Cool Colas, just so you know too, for YouTube is a little bit more conceptual. I talk about different topics like that are interesting, that are kind of related to the conversation that me and my brother here had. So other than that, I do have a
Yeah.
website, colas.com. You can find
Yep.
me at all these different places, and you can check my brand out and see everything I'm about.
Yeah, man. I really, really want to, like always, I want to highlight these amazing, brilliant people in the social media streets, letting y'all realize in the middle of all the stuff in this world, there is good content. There are smart, honest people that want better for the community. They
Mhm.
exist. Take a little bit of looking, try to put it in front of your face, man. This guy is one of those people I'm going to talk about, man. Awesome brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, yeah. Thank y'all very much for the Sean P experience. I will see y'all next week. Peace.
See you. Peace.